Throughout the day here in Walthamstow, there'd been a good deal of anxiety and indeed some fear about what might be coming tonight after an immigration law centre on the high street here was listed among many potential targets for far-right gatherings this evening. Instead, we're seeing this enormous anti-racism demonstration. It's a real sign of solidarity here, this mass gathering of people really determined to show what their community here is all about.
Later, a Labour Party councillor was arrested on suspicion of encouraging the murder of far-right demonstrators during that rally in Walthamstow. Over the following days, more and more sentences were handed out to rioters, jailed quickly to send a message to others.
20 months imprisonment.
32 months imprisonment.
8 months imprisonment.
For many, their verdicts came less than a week after the violence they were involved in.
Filmed by a police officer's body camera from behind a riot shield. This is County Road in Liverpool on Saturday night.
Watch the flames! Watch the flames!
Here, the weapons of choice were fire and fireworks. With missiles still coming, police arrest a rioter who's armed with a kosh.
I'm English.
At 69, William Nelson Morgan had no previous convictions.
Your advancing years plainly did not prevent you from playing an active part at the disturbance on County Road. You were a part of a crowd of about 100 people who were running amok. And the people doing all of this, that weren't exercising some right to freedom of expression or lawful protest, but rather that they were exploiting the anguish of others, either to further their own twisted ideology, or more likely, as an excuse simply for vandalism, intimidation, and violence.
We will not cower in the face of racism, bigotry, violence, extremism, and hate!
The weekend's demonstrations were a far cry from what came before, a respite for communities which have been left to pick up the pieces. A cycle of destruction and distraction from the tragic deaths of 3 young girls at a Taylor Swift dance class. And in Southport, crowds gathered once more, 2 weeks on, to say their final goodbye to Alice da Silva Aguiar, one of the victims who was just 9 years old.
Pink plumes on a horse-drawn carriage, the little girl described as a princess by her parents. They arrived by car as well-wishers lined the street in silence and clapped as the cortege passed by.
Video creation just had an upgrade.
Try your mic.
Okay. So far, what we've seen, first of all, good evening to everyone. And today I'm trying to present. So it's a new thing for me. So that's one of the things which you have to keep in mind. But anyhow, so far what you've seen is what's happened and how some sentences have been handed out in regards to some social media posts and whatnot. We have a press release from the Prime Minister of the UK, Keir Starmer, as well as one from the Mayor of London. I'm just going to share my screen and basically present that, so we're on the same thing. And we've got Andolan with us, Vivek Khatri and Aditya Matoria. And we're going to go from there. So first of all, I'm going to share the statement of the Mayor of London.
The targeting of Muslims and minority ethnic communities has left many communities fearing for their safety, which is simply not right. We're providing additional support for security at our mosques during this difficult time. This funding will deliver practical advice from experts to mosque leaders on how to keep their congregations and premises safe. I was keen to bring us together with the support of the police, Home Office, and our elders, rise, brothers and sisters, to make it quite clear that I speak as the Mayor of London. There is no room in our city for racism, for xenophobia, anti-Semitism, and for any forms of hatred. I'm working closely with the Met and partners across London to ensure all our communities are safe and feel safe.
Okay, so there's a similar statement by the Prime Minister. I'm just going to share that as well. And then we can proceed in terms of what we think in regards to what actually is happening and where all this is headed. Because a lot of people are referring to this as two-tier policing. They're talking about various other situations in regards to that. And so that's where we are. Let me just fetch that video. So this is a statement from the Prime
I had a
Minister.
COBRA meeting this morning, which was an opportunity that I took to thank the police for their work over the last few days, to express my support for the police officers who have been injured and the communities impacted by this mindless thuggery. There are a number of actions that came out of the meeting. The first is we will have a standing army of specialist officers, public duty officers, so that we'll have enough officers to deal with this where we need them. The second is we'll ramp up criminal justice. There have already been hundreds of arrests. Some have appeared in court this morning. I've asked for early consideration of the earliest naming and identification of those involved in the process, who will feel the full force of the law. And thirdly, I've been absolutely clear that the criminal law applies online as well as offline, and I'm assured that that's the approach that is being taken. Whatever the apparent motivation, this is not protest, it is pure violence, and we will not tolerate attacks on mosques or our Muslim communities. So the full force of the law will be visited on all those who are identified as having taken part in these activities.
Okay, so the first video was from Channel 4. The other two were, one was on behest of Downing Street in the UK from the Prime Minister's office, and the one from Sadiq Khan, Mayor of London, was from the Whitehall. So as all the panelists have heard, I'm going to first of all go to Vivek Khatri. Mr. Vivek Khatri, what do you believe? Do you think, you've seen the videos, you've seen how the action is taking place, how people are getting prosecuted. Do you think it's justified, or do you think it's basically tarnishing freedom of speech, or people's freedom of speech is being curtailed? Or do you think what they're doing is rightful? Go ahead.
Well, I'll answer you, but I'll have a couple of questions of from you, because my understanding of the law and order administration in UK is slightly less. So as far as damage to person or property is concerned, it's very legitimate to take legal action against whosoever is damaging property or hurting people. No second thoughts on that. However, a lot of sentences have been done for expressing anger on the social media of I think there was an 18-month sentence for an individual who was doing a slogan. Now these are the things which appear to be slightly overboard. So two aspects very clearly. One is damage to property or to an individual is certainly a punishable offense, and criminal action needs to be taken against that. However, there seems to be curbing of genuine anger through ruthless legal enforcement. This seems to be a bit overboard when it comes to putting people behind bars, who are trying to express their anger either online or otherwise, which are neither causing damage to anybody's property or to an individual. However, I had a couple of questions. I just wanted to understand. when we talk about policing, so does policing comes under central administration, or is it under the municipal administration? Does it comes under the mayor, or does it comes under the UK government? Who's so let's say a city like London, who would all the police officers report into? Shajid, am I audible?
Yeah. So yeah, you are audible. Interesting question. So the thing is that some of the stuff, some of the security and the policing matters are going to be handled by the mayor. But then there is the central government who basically looks after and makes those decisions in terms of what the Met Police is going to do. Because after all, it's a national police service is a national police service. It's not bound just for London or bound just for a particular area. So in terms of what the laws are going to be, what things are offensive, there's only a minimal amount of interference which can be taken care of by the mayor of London or mayor of any other city for that matter.
So, like in India, we have law and order is the prerogative of the state. Center normally doesn't intervene. The police of the state reports into the chief minister of the state, and the center doesn't have any intervention in the policing until and unless there are certain central investigation agencies. Until and unless the state chooses to hand over the case to the central investigation agencies. So I just wanted to understand how does the policing system, is it a centralized policing system reporting into the prime minister or the
aspects of
secretary?
So aspects of the policing system are central. Like in this case, they had to make national decisions, so they had to make it in that way. But then there are situations where it's not in that entire way where local decisions are made. So it's part and parcel. It's a collection of both of the aspects.
So if a situation in London goes bad,
Yeah.
the administration has to be blamed for it. Who would that blame go to? The mayor of London or the prime minister of UK?
It depends on the situation. So, like, for example, the first call of a person would be the mayor of London. He is going to be responsible for the disruption. If, for example, he's not provided those resources in terms of rioting and everything else, then those things then fall into the hands of the government.
Fair enough.
So it's basically a kind of mixture of those things. And you're absolutely correct. There have been like cases now where what these people have done is basically arrested. I think there was a lady, a pensioner woman, who's basically been given a sentence for making a Facebook comment. And a lot of people are saying that was just a Facebook comment and nothing more than that. But she basically made but she's been in prison for more than a year now. I think she's been given over 12 months. Other people are getting prosecuted as well. It's not that only the far right are getting prosecuted. There've been a number of, there've been two black ladies in this case as well, who went out and basically, according to them, they were self-defending themselves. There are 2 or 3 Muslim guys of Pakistani origin who've been prosecuted as well, as part and parcel of incitement and rioting and criminal offenses within the last 2 weeks. So it's not just people of one community, it's people from all kinds of communities who are basically getting tried within these courts.
Definitely, but at the same time, it's quite strange to see, the first world country and UK. The situation is not one-off. We have seen a trend of, violence erupting in the city. repeatedly, France, England, all those first world countries, the kind of scenes we rarely get to see in India, for that matter. This kind of, the whole city to a standstill and violent protest and so on and so forth.
I completely agree with you. But where do you see this going? I think at this point we'll add Aditya into the conversation. Aditya, you've seen the entire videos, you've seen the message. It seems to be very strong. Where do you think UK is headed with this? How do you view this?
I think like in popular culture also, it's well known that like UK out of the European countries has always been amongst the European countries has been known to be more conservative than the other parts of the Europe, right? So because they have also elected conservative governments throughout history, and they have a like I have like online I've seen that some people say that Britishers are more conservative than not maybe not in their values, but they have selected more conservative governments. But since probably last 5, 10, 20 years, and especially last 2 to 5 years, we are seeing a rise of the right wing, or in some cases even far right, in European countries. It has to do with multiple things. It's also because the growth of the European markets is stagnating compared to that of United States. If you compare it to uh, United States, the Western world, Europe is not performing. The economy is not performing as well as they was supposed to. There's a lot of red taping, a lot of state controlled. The markets are very controlled by the state, so a lot of public sector, and people are very frustrated with the limited resources, and then they see a obvious uh, problem that they think is the reason why we are lacking behind. And in the last 5 to 10 years there has been a massive movement of the immigrants, from especially from the African regions, but also from the Middle East and the South Asia and all these places. So you always need an enemy for your problem. You can't just say that there is something wrong in our system. You always need somebody to blame that problem on. And I think the soft target of this recent rise of anger and the uh, this story where they think that they are lacking behind is leading them to look for somebody to blame. And the right wing governments are which were like 50, 70 years ago, the same right wing governments had a enemy in the name of the Jews, right? Because Jews were a minority and they were oppressed under the conservative values. But now they have a new immigration and new people they want to blame their problems on. Earlier it was the Jew who did all the wrongs, right? Even if you don't have a rain in one season and your crops die down, people used to blame the Jew in the village and say that they practice all these things or black magic or whatever, which led to destruction of our crops. And a lot of Jews were hated for it. They were even targeted, killed for their mischiefs. And for 2000 years, Hitler wasn't the first person who came up with the idea of that Jews are wrong and we want to hate the Jews. It was a systemic issue which lasted for 2000 years. It's only Hitler who totally capitalized on it. So I think I see a rise of the right wing. And it's not even just traditional people who care about family systems and liberal markets and all that. It's the rise of the hate, the far right, which hates any kind of values which they don't share. It's not just uh, trying to preserve your values, but also trying to impose it on others, and trying to force the governments to stop the immigration and send these boats back. I think it's a larger problem. And now when you have an enemy, you start to looking for signs or any kind of sign which can prove your theory that it's the correct theory that we are following. So when three children are killed by a person, the fake news spreads that it was an immigrant. Then also somebody will say that no, it's not just an immigrant, it's also a Muslim immigrant. And somebody will start comparing a news story that they recently arrived in a boat. They all these theories come up. So I think it's a larger problem. It's a systemic issue, and it will take some time for these issues to settle down. I don't think it's on a downward trend. I think it's on a rising trend.
When you basically say that it was the right wing, what exactly do you classify as a British right wing? And do you think the protesters or the rioters, majority of them were racist, or do you happen to believe? Actually, we've got a footage from the actual protests before the violence actually broke off by one courtesy of a man called Harvey, who's a video editor and who's a independent filmmaker. We're later going to share a few snippets from that actual video. And it's very surprising because usually what you'll think is that it's going to be a bunch of racist people just basically blaming things. But it's an eye-opener in regards to what those groups are and what they consist of. So I was just like, I'm just curious, in your opinion, do you how would you classify the British right wing in terms of ethnicity and everything else? Go ahead, Aditya.
So like I said, not everybody who was a part of that demonstration or that protest was that far right. That's my understanding. There were a lot of people who are disappointed in the system. They believe that the system has failed them. A lot of people, they might not hate the Muslims, but they hate the idea that somebody has taken their jobs. They see London, which is a thriving multicultural society, which has a lot of immigrants, and it's probably sadly one of the few places remaining in Britain which still has a thriving, growing economy, a very vibrant society. It holds a lot of money in. Maybe these people from outside towns come to London and they see a lot of non-white people who drives fancy cars, they own fancy hotels or properties, businesses, and they think that they have taken something that belonged to us, and now they have taken over those things, which is not true. It's not that inherently everything existed and somebody came here and took it, right? These things were created by the efforts of that multifaceted society as a whole, which led to the growth of these cities. I'll give you a small example of a small town in Italy recently. If you remember, like 2-3 years ago, there was a very famous $1 homes which were auctioned in Italy. I remember it was a beachside, and those were like literally $1 or a euro homes which were literally given by the government for free, just for people to allow them to somebody come here, buy this home, renovate it, and start living here, because 70 to 80% of the population had migrated to cities. Nobody was living there. So a place doesn't make somebody automatically rich. A vibrant culture, growing economy, a rising population, a lot of things need to go right for a society to grow. So maybe it's that disaffection and disappointment by the society, and then you have somebody, you believe that this is what is leading to the decline of the white people, or our decline, and these brown people, they're taking our homes, they're taking our women, they are taking our money, and they are thankless, and we don't have any money, and these people have taken over our society. So then you then you find people who are actually literally racist, who hate the brown people, and there are some people who are just disappointed that I don't have a job, I want I work a lot, I want a decent earning, and they don't get it. So a
I
lot of disaffectionate people too.
I completely agree with you, Aditya. But then what happened? I was speaking to a few people locally, and some of them had gone to these rallies, and they gave a completely different overview. And then I came across Harvey, who'd actually been there, and he showed me some videos of the actual protests and little interviews which he did. And I would like all three of you to comment on a bit of a snippet in regards to what kind of people you're basically witnessing here, and then maybe make your minds up. So I think that we're one of the exclusive people to have this video in regards to how it is, and it's very essential that after this we basically take it to that: is this really the far right, or is it general people, or is there a certain hatred for a certain group of people by everyone who's basically gotten together? So I'm just going to basically begin this video. Have a look, and let's see.
Oh, my volume, Shah. Can you
I'm
unmute?
here because I can see a broken United Kingdom right now.
We are here representing freedom and Britishness.
Oh, it makes my heart to see so many people standing together in unity.
This is the first time I felt like I've actually really got culture in the last 4 years. I'm surrounded by a lot of people who are feeling the same anger.
Well, this is overwhelming for me because at the end of the day, England has given so much to so many countries, so many people. So when you come out of here and you see the resonance with people, and you see people coming together from all walks of life, is beautiful. And that's what it's all about. Togetherness, family, faith and freedom.
I'm amongst family. A lot of people who are proud to be who they are, where they're from, and there's no hatred mixed in with this.
We are here today to represent our people, to say thank you to the British community who organized this beautiful day, enabling us and all the other parts of the world, citizens from Israel, from Portugal, from Brazil, from America, are all here today.
We're smiling, we're happy, we're waving our flags with courage and pride, unashamedly so.
Hey everyone, sorry to interrupt the film, we'll get back to it in a second. As an independent filmmaker, if you could like, subscribe, and even give us a comment, it really helps the channel. I wanted to see for myself what was happening on the 27th of July at the Tommy Robinson rally. I did actually pop over to the counter protest to get some shots and see what their opinion was, but for a start, no one wanted to talk to me because I'd been to the other protests, and essentially they didn't really give me anything of substance. So I thought it best just to cut it out and focus on this film. But if you are interested, give us a comment and maybe I can make something with that. Anyway, let's get back to the film. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
I'm seeing people of different creeds, colours and religions all coming together. You've got Iranian flags, Indian flags, you've got Israeli flags. Everyone's just here because they want a safe environment where their kids can walk to the bus station or to the local shop and not have to be in danger. And that's all we're looking for, really.
I completely support everything that Tommy Robinson is doing. I'm glad there's actually a patriot here that's actually prepared to stand up and fight the good fight that needs to be fought.
I thought Tommy was a football thug, but now I realise that Tommy's a person who's got a heart like the rest of us. He just wants the same laws for everybody, and he wants people to be free.
We don't mind legal migration. In fact, a lot of people, doctors, nurses, have brought great skills into this country. But the illegal route and the amount of violence that's coming from these countries, and we can't say anything in fear of being called racist. Well, how is being British racist?
I was a asylum seeker. I came in here 28 years back. I was given shelter. They provided me home, they provided me food, they gave me everything. I choose to come to United Kingdom because I know they will save me. Even I'm from different faiths, they will allow me to practice my faith in here. That's why I came in here. But I came in here not to change Britain. I came to here to change my life. And British values are simply to be revered. The freedoms, freedom of democracy, freedom of free speech, freedom freedom to protest. Go to one of the 57 failed Muslim states and see how much freedoms you'll get there.
And forget this woke nonsense that we've got at the moment. My passion is to see people who are free to speak. They can believe what they want, but in the end, it comes down to what authority has the right to stop me from speaking.
We're not a racist lot. Everyone's welcome as long as we love our country, our culture, and our values. That's it. It's all the same.
For far too long, we've been silenced, we've been oppressed, we've been made to feel ashamed to wave a Union Jack and support our British Christian values.
It's really and truly enough is enough. We're tired of all of the segregation, we're tired of Rotherham, we're tired of all of these individuals, you know, the religion have taken a... We're sick and tired of all of that rubbish.
Most cultures that come here to the UK, they don't have any sort of like preconceptions. They come here, they mix in with the people, they integrate. Indians have, Sikhs have, Buddhists, you know, you name it, they have. Anyone that seems to be from Islam, for some reason, they integrate a little bit, but they want to then impose themselves on everybody else.
With 5,500, 6,000 years of history, Iran, that great land that we are fighting to get it back from this system that is destroyed our image, our country, our economy, and the entire nation.
I came from the Islamic Republic of Iran, and I live there. I live with the Muslim people and the real Islam. And the nice people you see, and they say we are Muslim, they are not real Muslim. Islam is the most dangerous virus that they try to spread everywhere, all the countries.
One of my best friends is Muslim. The only problem you have is the level of belief that they have in the Quran. And the Quran, there's parts of it that's peaceful, during the time that Muhammad was a peaceful person. And then there's periods of the Quran where it's not peaceful, it's completely the opposite, which is the latter half, where it's all about murder, it was all about basically taking over.
As far as I see, especially for the last few years, having lived in this country, I see that unfortunately all these British root Islamists and fanatics and very, very radical links are spreading around and causing a lot of discomfort for the people in the city, around all the cities, and also in London.
It's happening already. It's happening in Birmingham, Bradford, Manchester, London.
We
It's
have
already happening.
sectarian
We
voting.
have Sharia law on British streets. We have sectarian everything. Halal meals in schools now.
My ancestors, having suffered from Mughal rule, who brought Islam to India for 600 years, Hindus have actually lived under Mughal rule, and they struggled. Everything that you're looking at potentially happening here in the future has happened to us. We know what happened in the past. The one message I would like to get across to everybody that sees this is boycott halal food in this country. If you're a patriot, you should not be eating halal food whatsoever.
To say that we are looking for freedom, we're looking to free our country, and we would like to get rid of this Islamic regime as soon as possible and go back to our history and go to back our monarchy, whereby we were one of the top countries in the world.
I lived in Saudi Arabia, and I had to adhere to their laws. So I would expect that at a minimum that they adhere to ours. Not just our laws, but our customs, our ways of life.
They just take all of this for granted. If they were to go to one different...
Share your mic.
So very interesting set of perspective from across the spectrum. Shajah, we can't hear you. At least I can't.
So sorry about that.
Shaji, you're muted. You're muted.
Am
Now
I
we
audible?
can hear you. It's
Yeah, yeah.
audible now.
So as you've seen during this entire video, this was done by Harvey. He's going to join us on the 31st. We're going to have him in regards to what he's witnessed, what he's gone. He's basically interviewed a lot of different kind of people in this entire thing, and it's very, very insightful. This is actually at the protest, and you can clearly see that there's Iranians there, there are Israelis there, there's Jews there, the black people there are all kinds of people. But there's one thing in common. There's even like Sikh members of the Sikh community over there, and they're referring to a particular group of people. Now, people can put it down to the fact that this is just Islamophobic and these people are just Islamophobic people. But the reality is, like Aditya, it's very interesting, like you mentioned, that people require a scapegoat. But there's another thing which has been going on, specifically in London and the UK and majority of the Western countries in the past year or so. And before we go to both of you, Vivek Khatri and Aditya, I'm going to bring in Maham in regards to what she thinks in regards to that as well. The point over here is that there have been Palestinian protests on a weekly basis, on a every single day basis. There's been road blockages, there have been people doing all kinds of stuff. And when you look at the rallies, we're going to soon have footage. Harvey actually wanted to create a footage of the protests from Palestine as well. He's still trying to get in to a few of them, but they're now refusing to speak to him because they're basically saying that he covered the far right protests. When clearly he's an independent filmmaker, he's not a far right person in any way or form, or an Islamophobe. But I think what he brought in was very, very insightful. So in regards to that, Maham, you saw the video as well, and we're going to go after you. We're going to go to the other two guys as well. What do you see from that? Do you think it's Islamophobic, or these people are just like, what's exactly going on in your opinion? Maham, you're muted.
Yeah, so can you hear me? My internet is really bad, so I'm kind of avoiding talking today. But anyway, I think the problem is just like Aditya said, every time you need a new scapegoat. Like, you know, the Black Plague that came into Europe, Jews were blamed for that. And now, instead of focusing on why they're having all these issues, like joblessness have really gone high in the UK this year. So instead, they are focused on a completely irrelevant issue. Now, the murder was not done by a Muslim, and UK is pledging money to countries like, you know, in wars, like the Israel and Palestine issue. Fine, that's one thing. But if there are problems at your own home, why not focus it there? Like, if you have enough money, help these people find jobs. Honestly speaking, I think what Tommy Robinson did is he gave a lot of people a criminal record who are aged 13 or 15, who are involved in all these things. And now their future is kind of messed up just because of some social media fake propaganda. And a lot of these groups that are involved in these things, they also have a touch of anti-Semitism. They also talk about Jews. They also have these people don't realize most of they see. They also have this anti-Hindu aspect and anti any religion that is not Christian, any person that is not white. They have something against it, and they post racist stuff about it. And that's the false information is what brought it here. And to see such educated people falling for that stuff instead of doing your own research and confirming what's actually happening, it's just really sad. Their own personal beef with the situation. Like this Sikh guy that you mentioned, I've been following this guy. I think his name is Harman Singh Kapoor. He is an anti-Khalistani and very anti-Muslim from the very start, and he is an obvious Islamophobe, and it's all over his Twitter profile. And a lot of these people are like, and a lot of these people, it's not just the UK problem. Like Tommy Robinson is supported by big think tanks and tech billionaires from the US. They've been funding him, they've been sending him money. 40% of Tommy Robinson supporters are from the US. There are people from Netherlands and Australia, but majorly they are from US. They're not even British. So I think when it comes to the support, I think the racists are all gathering together.
Interesting. Andolan, Vivek Khatri, what's your opinion in regards to the same?
So, I think we have to see things in perspective. So at one breath, Aditya says that, UK is a very fast growing economy, so on and so forth. At the same breath, he says, since there is joblessness, so there is an unrest. Why is there sudden joblessness and a lack in economy with the
I said
increase in
London is a grow, not UK.
London? Yeah. So, one has to also correlate that this, higher rate of immigration is, also impacting the economy of the, host countries in a negative way. And just compare it parallelly with what's happening in Bangladesh right now. Bangladesh is a very high growth economy, from the last many years. And we are seeing the streets of Bangladesh being burned. Hindus specifically being targeted, Hindu places of worship being targeted by Islamists. There's undeniably a trend wherein if you are in a host country, there is a problem. If somebody is there in a Muslim majority country, he is in a problem. So, why don't we acknowledge certain realities that when it comes to ideology, it is, quite, conclusive that the coexistence of Islamic ideology with any other ideology is very difficult. We have seen the partition of India happening on the same basis. We have seen, what's happening in Bangladesh right now. We have seen similar thing in Myanmar. We have seen similar things in Britain, France, etc. as well. So there is an issue. Until and unless we acknowledge the issue, we can't work on solutions. Now, you may call it Islamophobia. You may, target one individual, and Harban is a good friend. So, he's definitely not Islamophobic. He's a fairly straightforward guy. He speaks, on facts. And when he's talking about as a migrant himself, he doesn't has a problem, and people don't have a problem with him.
Mr. Vivek Khatri, there's
Yes.
a slight issue in regards to that. That this entire episode, which kind of unfolded, and Nigel Farage, one of the first preparators of making it as part of the mainstream media and the social media in this case, basically admitted it himself. We have a footage of him basically admitting it and trying to blame it all on Andrew Tate, who quite respectfully, if you listen to what Andrew Tate basically said, not freeing him of any of the consequences. He was very generic in terms of how people come illegally and what they basically do. He did not basically mention Muslims in any way or form. And in this case, it's been proven that this dude was not actually a Muslim who basically went and basically killed three little girls.
While that may be true, but then again, there is a deep involvement of Muslims, specifically Pakistani Muslims, in the last 2 decades in the grooming gangs. A lot of that have been politically covered and erased, right? But the anger remains. So this particular incident, as we used to read in the history books, is the immediate cause of the revolution, or the this thing. However, the undercurrents were always there in the UK society. that there is a set of individuals, and you're talking about, with respect to Palestine, I saw a lot of interviews of even Muslim doctors who are perfectly all right with the 7th October massacre of individuals and rape and killing of children. They were perfectly all right with it. They were perfectly, good supporters of Hamas. I'm talking about interviews of educated doctors. As long as they are coming in from Muslim community, they have a certain, affiliation to or sympathies toward Hamas. I can understand, right? If there are civilians dying in Palestine, if there are kids and women who are dying in Palestine, everybody would have a sympathy for that. But to have sympathy for Hamas, and that too sitting in a country like UK, and supporting almost a terrorist organization like Hamas. So these kind of undercurrents have been there, and this another guy, I'm not remembering his name, who's been calling for Sharia law in UK for a very long time. He's recently been jailed.
Anjum Chowdhury. Are you
Anjum
referring to
Chowdhury. Yeah, Anjum Chowdhury, right? And then there is another guy, Majid Freeman, or what's his name? The bearded, guy, fat guy. He has been quite provocative for quite some time. Uh, so off and on, it's just not about UK, and I bring it back to Bangladesh example again, a perfectly growing economy. Why are Hindus getting targeted over there? What are the reasons why Hindus are specifically getting targeted over? Because the problem is with Islam to not coexist with anybody else. And there's a live example going right in front of our eyes. More than 600 deaths of Hindus have been reported so far, more than 50 temples desecrated. This is not a political movement. Not the temples were not, the ones which were supporting Sheikh Hasina or
I have
somebody
a
in the
question,
political party.
Andolanji.
Right? Yeah. Just allow me another 20-30 seconds. And we saw similar kind of aspect across, multiple, countries which has taken in immigrants in large number, specifically from Africa and Middle East. Immigration is not a problem. However, what the EU did with immigration over a period of time, specifically in the last decade, it's hurting most of the European economies and the countries, be it Germany, be it France, be it UK. Earlier also there were migration from, a lot of places. People of all race, culture, creed, and ideology used to come into European countries. But this mass migration has led to a lot of issues.
Maham, you had a question.
I so my question is first of all, I think Andolanji, you're missing out the point that some Hindus were attacked in Bangladesh because they were all supporters of Sheikh Hasina. Because majority of the Hindus in Bangladesh, they supported Sheikh Hasina. But it's still not justified. I'm not saying that. But I have a question, a very important question. For 2000 years, Jews have been shunned from every other community. Now they make their own country, Israel, and they're facing the same issues there. Do you think it's the Judaism that's the problem? Do you think Jews are the problem?
So there are two things, Maham. Can you recall an instance like Bangladesh done by Jews, ever in the history of 2000 years, where they picked up Hindu temples or any other religion temple and desecrated them, specifically raped women who belong to another community, specifically killed people belonging to another
Every single
community?
religion have done this to another
No,
religion.
no, it's not that.
It's not just
It's not.
something.
No, it's not. So, this is precisely when you do not accept reality. I said, give me example, right? So, give me
Don't you have
example of
temples that were
yeah.
made on top of Buddhist temples? Don't you have
No,
Hindu
there is no
temples
such
that
thing.
made on top of Buddhist
There's,
temples? Don't you have
so
those? Because
so you are
I can
trying to
take out
divert the
articles about it.
you are trying to
Yes.
divert the issue.
Most of the
You are
Buddhist
comparing.
temples,
No, allow me to
I
complete
just
the
want to
point.
make a
Allow
point.
me to complete a
Most of the
point.
Buddhist
No,
temples
you are trying to
in
divert the point.
Pakistan
You
were made
compared
on
the.
top of
You were
Russian
trying to
temple.
compare Muslim situation with Jew situation. We'll come to Hindu Buddhist issue, but give me an example of 2000 years of Jew history where they have targeted people of other religion, raped their women, and desecrated their temples. Give me example. You just compared Muslim society with that of Jews. You
The
said,
Jews have done this to someone.
Muslim.
Jews have
I
done this
can
to
give
someone.
you, I
No,
can
they have
give
not.
you an example
Right.
of that
So,
Vivek
It's
Singh.
okay.
So, no, Jews have never done this, right? To the best of my knowledge, that they have gone ahead and desecrated places of worship of other religion, raped women belonging to a person of other religion, specifically
They're
targeting other
literally
religion.
doing it right now.
Right.
There are Jewish. I can show you videos. Jewish rabbis asking to bomb mosque, Al-Aqsa Mosque. There are
No, no,
videos of IDF
talking,
raping Palestinian
talking is
men. What are you
no,
talking
no,
about?
no. So hold on. So there is talking and there is doing. I'm talking about doing, right? Have you a mass
Yeah, they've
persecution
done
of
it. There are videos of
minorities?
it.
No, there are none. You're lying. You know all you're lying. In the
There are
current kingdom of Israel, in the current state of Israel, okay? You can talk. You can shout over me. In the current state of Israel, there are 20% population
Okay,
is
sorry,
Muslim
sorry. You
population.
just go on.
Yeah, in the current state of Israel, there are 20% population which is a Muslim population. You have never heard of people, forming groups, evicting people out of their houses, raping their women, killing their and chopping their heads off. That's happening in Bangladesh right in front of our eyes. Have you seen that happening in Israel in the last 50 years since the time that country has come to existence?
Right.
Where Jew is a majority and they have, gone
Andolanji,
ahead and chopped people off. They've.
Mhm. Andolanji, first thing first, have you seen those videos? I believe you haven't seen those as well. Maybe if I find them again, I'll send it to you. Have you seen those videos where the Jews are telling Christians to go back to their land and they're dirty and they're not accepted? Have you seen those
So,
videos?
do you
Have you seen
understand the
have you
difference
heard?
between
It's all over the
telling?
news of IDF. Hey, I'm not done. 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 Please. Have you seen the videos of IDF soldiers that those were recently leaked out where they're raping Palestinian men? There are so many stuff happening in Palestine, and nobody's like everybody knows it's happening. There are videos out there, and you're telling me that IDF is doing nothing. There are people being murdered in daylight in Palestine, and you're telling me that it's not happening. Like,
Okay, you're done.
that's quite a
So
wrong
again, I'm
propaganda.
asking the same question to you. I'm again asking you the same question. Israel is 75% plus Jew country. Muslims are 20%. Do you have a single video where you have set of 500 Jews going, ransacking house, ransacking places of worship, raping women who are staying in Israel from other community, or
Yes,
for that matter, in 2000-year-old history? I have never
just last
seen
from last
crowds.
year, Andolanji.
So you can send me the details. I'll be happy. You can put it in the chat, right? Because I've never seen. See,
There is a
Jews.
viral video where this one Jew tells the Palestinian women that please give this home to me, otherwise somebody else will come and take it over. So you
So,
rather give it to me.
you're comparing telling each other with actually doing rape and, cutting the throats of people. Is that the, level of your
Andolanji, how do
comparison?
you think Israel came
Bangladesh
into
में,
existence in
Bangladesh में,
1948? They
Bangladesh
literally
में,
raped thousands of
नहीं, my
Palestinian
friend,
women. They
my
killed
friend,
hundreds of thousands of
my friend,
Palestinian people,
my friend.
and they
This
have
is
doing
this
it since
this may
last
be
70 years.
no. So I think you
They
do
have
not have
displaced
any
more
proof
than
of the
50
same.
million
No,
Palestinians. Like, what else do you
displacement.
need? In just
No,
last
okay. So,
8 months, they have killed 40,000 Palestinians. It's like just a joke. Like, it's like numbers
so
doesn't count. When it
Where
comes
are
to
these
the
numbers coming from?
Israelis,
Where
number
are
is
these
just
numbers
like,
coming from?
you can throw anything at it. And
Where
it
where are
will
these
still
numbers
be
coming from?
smaller than the atrocities
No,
that
but
the Jewish people
Aditya.
and especially the Israeli state is committing on the Palestinian people. And they
So
are a
Aditya,
micro minority, and their atrocities towards their countries, like, other half is like they literally destroyed 10% of the, like, Gazan population killed in the last 8 months. Like, how many Hamas are there? Like, even they can't decide. Ask them what is the
so
number of Hamas, and they'll tell you that, maybe, like, there are 1 million people living in Gaza. Probably there are 3 million Hamas.
okay. So if you're done, Aditya. So these numbers are coming in from Hamas itself, which they revised to 50% in a single day about 3 weeks back. So this number of 40,000 are already gone down to 20,000, right? So first, get a check on the numbers, which Hamas has revised 50% in a single day. The UN has also accepted the new numbers. right? Again, you're not getting the point. What's happening in Bangladesh? Crowd of people are targeting Hindu homes, Hindu places of worship,
So, Andolanji,
picking up,
do you think
abducting the
Bangladesh
women.
uprising
Allow
was
me to
about the
complete my point.
Hindus? Do you think it was
I
about
don't
the
know.
Hindus, or was
No, that's
anything
not the
else at
point.
play?
Aditya, the
Andolanji,
point
do
is
you
what's
think the
happening
Hamas,
right in.
the
You're not allowing
Bangladesh
me to complete my
uprising
point.
was about the Hindus,
No, you're not allowing me to
or
complete my point.
was it about
What's
Sheikh Hasina?
happening? What is Sheikh Hasina has gone 10 days back, isn't it? There is a new
So Hindus
government
are
in
safe
place,
in
right?
Bangladesh. Hindus
Yeah,
are safe in
Sheikh
Bangladesh, very
Hasina,
safe.
Sheikh Hasina has gone 10 days back, and you have crowds going around, burning temples, killing people, raping women,
How
abducting
many Hindus
girls.
have they killed? Do you have any number?
600 so
Any
far. 600 so
can
far.
you provide any
I can provide.
international
I would provide you full details.
credible
So you're
source
saying
with
it's
the
not
article?
happening. So you're Aditya, you're
Any
saying it's not
article,
happening.
any single
Aditya,
article. Yes, please
are you
provide.
saying it's not happening? Are you saying it's not happening?
Provide me any
I
credible right
just
wing
said.
or
I
left
just
wing
said.
article.
No. I'm just asking you a
Andolanji,
simple question. Are
Andolanji,
Hindus
any
not? I'm asking your opinion.
Andolanji, any right wing or
Are
any
you
left wing
thinking?
article
No, Aditya. I'm asking you a simple
supporting your
question. Do you
600
think?
number.
No, Aditya. I'm asking a simple question.
Even a right wing
Are
global
Hindus being
institution,
targeted?
give me article.
Are
Okay, give
Hindus
me
being
article
targeted in
from OP
Bangladesh or
India.
not? Yes or
You
no?
give me article from OP
Are
India. Let's see.
Hindus being targeted in Bangladesh as we speak?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Right. So that's the point I was making, and that is precisely the
But
lack of
Muslims are also being
coexistence.
targeted in Bangladesh. It's not that Hindus are somehow special about
Aditya,
for it.
Aditya.
No,
I
first you
understand
have
you.
to back your 600 number that you are
I'll
telling
give
me
you.
that
I'll
supposedly
send
are
you the
killing.
details. I'll send you
You
the
give me a
details right
detail of 300.
away. Aditya.
Give me a
You're
detail of
shouting. You're
100.
shouting. You're shouting. I
I'm
said
not
I'll give you
shouting.
the
You
details.
made a very bold
You
claim. You have to back it
I
up.
made you. I made a bold claim, and I'll back it up. Right. But what you have to do is allow me to speak as well. So when Hindus are getting targeted in Bangladesh, a Muslim majority country, similarly in UK there have been a lot of crimes which have been committed by Muslim. This thing there has been call for Sharia implementation. There has been grooming gangs going on. There is a complete BBC documentary which was taken down. There was a complete data points in terms of some obscene amount of numbers of women getting molested by the grooming gangs. These are all the points which clearly indicate that there is one segment of ideology which refuse, and for that matter, Israel and Palestine. There is one set of ideology who refuse to coexist. There are 20% Muslims living in Israel as we speak with no problem. They are into judiciary, they are living a fine life. But then, there is a part of Palestine who refuses to coexist and they want to eliminate all the Jews from river to the sea. That's the call, isn't it? Where would the Jews go in case they occupy the land from river to sea? We have seen that in
Go to
India and
Europe,
Pakistan
where they
partition.
came from.
No,
They
hold
should
on.
go to
No,
Europe.
they came from Middle East. They came from Middle East, right?
No. There were no Jews in Middle. Most of
Who
them
told
came
you
from
that?
Europe. They can go to Europe. They can ask
My
for
friend,
asylum
you
in
then
many different countries.
your knowledge of about history is lacking. Starting from Moses, read the
Okay,
history.
and Nolan,
Okay.
can I just come
Majority
in?
of the
Hold
yeah,
on.
All the
and
humans came from
majority
Africa
of
by
the
the same
Jews,
theory.
eh,
All the humans
Hold
came
on,
from
majority
guys.
Africa. So, should we all
Hold
go to
on, guys.
Africa?
Calm down. It's only the four of us. One second. I wanted to basically bring something to Andolan ji's attention. Just in the last
So
20.
in the same breath, you're saying Jews to go back to just one second, just one second. In the same breath, he's asking Jews to go back to Europe or wherever.
No, he's
Same
not.
breath,
If they
if
don't
UK
want to
or
go to
Europe,
Europe, then
if Europe, no, it's okay, it's
learn to
okay,
start
it's okay.
coexisting.
एक second Aditya,
Learn
एक
to
second.
start to
Similarly,
coexisting
similarly, all
with
the
the
Muslims can
Muslims.
move back
एक
from
second
Europe into
Aditya,
Middle
Then
East
then
and
learn
Pakistan,
to
isn't it?
coexist with the Muslims. You can't be
No, but
colonizing them and then
they are
asking them to
coexisting.
coexist.
Similarly, Muslims cannot colonize Europe, right?
Nobody
The
is
same logic
colonizing
applies
Europe.
here.
Nobody's nobody's
Nobody
colonizing
is.
Europe.
can I make a point here?
Aditya, are you sure what about you saying? You just
Majority,
said
mo-
Jews
maj-
need to go back to Europe. On the similar line, Muslim
majority
need
of
to
the
go back to Middle
Israeli
East and
population is
Pakistan.
Polish.
The
Okay,
name where was Jesus born? A Jew.
Majority,
Can I basically add
Where were
Majority
all the
of the
humans born in
Jews in
Hold
Africa?
on, guys. We,
What
we
majority
is
of
the
need
the
some
Jews.
point?
decorum. Please, calm down. So one thing I want to clarify, like for example, just in the last 20 years, when Andolanji basically said, and I in no way am I basically trying to suggest that Jews, all of them happen to be in that way, but they're just like every community, they also have a share of extremists. And I'm just going to read out a few incidents which can be verified. So Baruch Goldstein's massacre, which basically occurred in 1994, where a settler opened fire on Palestinian Muslims praying in a cave in the Patriarchs in Hebron, killing 29 worshippers. Bat Ain Axe attack as well, which occurred in 2002. Two Jewish settlers from Beitul Ain basically attacked a Palestinian family with axes while killing a 7-year-old and his younger sister. Then there was an attack in 2015 on a church in Jewish extremist set fire to a church in the Loaves area and a Christian holy site in northern Israel, causing extensive damage. Then there was a murder of a guy called Abu Khadir in 2014. Again, this took place at a mosque. Then there was an attack in Jerusalem by Jewish extremists on a gay pride march, which was happening over there.
So a
And
small question, Sajid.
now let me
Just a
finish.
small question. Just a
Let me
small
finish.
question. What is
Please
the percentage of
let me
minority in
finish the
Israel and
question.
what is the percentage of minority in
Please
Palestine?
let me finish. Andolanji, please let me finish. So the point is, if you look at the total number of Jews in and around the globe, what you'll see is that they're not even like more than 20 million, even going by the most liberal of the extent of the things. And if you look at the proportion in terms of how many incidents of violence have taken place, if you work out the averages, they have just the same number of extremists as Muslims do. So the
Not
Jewish
really.
community,
Not
in
really.
terms of proportion and in terms of actions, like we have ISIS, they have the same percentage of extremists within their communities, which is
Not
again
really.
0.11.
Not
Yeah,
really. Not
that's what.
really. I'll give you an example for the same. What is the proportion of minorities staying in
Applies to
Israel and what is
every.
the proportion
It
of
applies to
minorities living in Palestine? The issue of coexistence, right? What is the percentage of minorities living in Israel and what is the percentage of minority living in Palestine? Same area, set of people, same area, same piece of land, hardly 20 kilometers here or there, maybe 100 kilometers here or there.
I can say the same thing
20.
about UAE, Andolanji. What is the proportion of multicultural people internationally living in the UAE?
This is perfectly all right. You're giving a good example.
Yeah, so Muslims apparently cannot coexist, but they can perfectly coexist in
In
the
UAE, also they don't coexist. So here you are wrong. In UAE, in Saudi, they don't coexist. Coexistence means that you give equal rights to the people staying with you. You just don't use and throw them. So once you
So
need them,
does
you bring them
UAE
in
give
for.
equal
Just hold on.
rights to
Just
all
allow
people
me to
living
complete
there?
my point. Allow me to complete my point.
Are
You
the
know.
Emirate
So just allow me
Emirati
to
people
complete my point,
having the
my
same
friend.
rights as
Just
the people
just
living there?
just complete. Just allow me to complete my point, right? So if there are 500,000 people staying in UAE or 5 million people, of I don't know the exact number, who are gonna be there only for their productive life and then thrown back to their respective countries. If this is what you call coexistence, I believe this kind of coexistence should be there in Europe as well. Bring in people at 2025, throw them out at 45, 50. Exactly the same way Saudi does it, UAE does it, Qatar does it, Kuwait does it. How many of these countries give them citizenship? They just
That's for the
do
European
this lack
countries to
of
decide what
coexistence.
kind of
No,
like
I'm just giving
migrants
an
they want.
example of coexistence. I'm just giving an example of coexistence. Is because they need people
UAE
to
do
work,
not give
they bring
nationality to
nobody.
anyone, Muslims or
I know that.
non-Muslims.
I know that. I know that that is precisely the area of problem with the Islamic society, which doesn't allow coexistence with
It's not
anybody
about
else, even
Islamic.
with
They don't
fellow
even give it
Muslims.
to Muslims.
Which is what I'm saying. They don't even want to coexist with Muslims coming in from other part of the world.
They do coexist with a lot of cultures. Like, their native population is smaller than their migrant population.
I wish Europe adopts this kind of coexistence for
Yeah,
everybody
you
coming
can
from
wish, but
outside.
it's for them to decide. Like, their
So
population is
that's what they're
declining
calling
and you
for.
need
That's what they're
immigrants.
calling for. That's what
They need,
the
like,
entire
either
protest
you
is
can
taking, bro.
retire at 60, either you can decide to retire at 60. You don't want to have kids, and you want that, retirement life. You want retirement pensions and services. You need free hospitals, everything, but you don't want to produce more kids. You want to have, like, 5 to 6 working hours. Now they are talking about probably a
So they
4-day
bring in
working
policy
week.
exactly like Middle East, right? They'll get people to work
No,
for
but
them
it's
for
for
20,
them to
30
decide,
years
like,
and then throw
what
them
kind
back
of
into their
lifestyle they
respective
want to
cities.
afford,
That's
and
that's where the
can they afford
protest is
that
all
lifestyle
about, right?
without having kids?
But
Like,
Aditya,
who is going
that's
to pay for their
precisely
old age?
Aditya, that's precisely the protests are all about. They're wanting people to go back after they have completed their
They're
productive
not
life.
wanting the
They
people
want
to
to
go
send
back.
back non-productive to go
If
back.
anything, they want more
Eight
migrants.
second. Guys, Aditya, I have a question. Andolanji, they'll go back to their countries. That's not the problem. But you don't think first they have to stop bombing them? Where do you think the illegal immigrants are coming from?
Which countries UK is bombing?
Most
Which is I
migrants are
feel
from Syria.
Aditya, if the question is asked to me, allow me to answer that question. Now, this is precisely the problem the entire Muslims, world has taken as a victim card. US wants India to go and fight with China, but we are not fools to pick up guns and start fighting with China, right? We don't want to get into this trap of first corresponding to become a terrorist or an activist or shed the blood of our own people and then cry victimhood. Who is at fault here? It is your own country. You make your own decisions, isn't it? Why do you need to go and bow down to the wishes of America or
We
UK or
make our own
Europe?
decisions to be bombed?
Yeah,
No. We make our own
No,
decisions to be
allow me to.
bombed?
No, bow down. I said to wishes of the Western countries, right? It was Pakistan's
No.
decisions to bow down to US interest every time, isn't it?
Pakistan is different. I'm talking about
Just
the
a minute.
illegal. No,
It's connected, right? I'm talking about Syria. I'm going to talk about Iraq. I'm going to talk about Iran. I'm going to talk about everything. There are political, masters over there in these countries who bow down to the wishes of Western people. It was your choice whether you are Iraq, whether you are
Not the
Iran, whether
people's
you are
choice.
Syria, whether
Probably the
Lebanon.
army's choice, but not the
My
people's choice.
Aditya, but that's another problem, right? But
Iraq was our choice as well.
allow me to
Afghanistan was also our own choice,
allow me to
right?
allow me to. What you're trying to do is you're trying to push a point across. I'm just giving you reasonable logic. Why is there no democracy in these countries? Aditya made a very relevant point. Dictators are calling the shots.
Because of
Why is there?
United States of America.
Because of United States of America. Your entire set of problem, if your existence depends on somebody else, then the problem is with you, my
Saudi
friend.
Arabia also don't have America, but why America not bomb Saudi Arabia?
Which is the question that Saudi Arabia needs to answer.
Shouldn't America should be answering why they don't want to bomb Saudi Arabia?
Why are people of Saudi Arabia not choosing a
UAE
guy?
also don't have democracy.
Saudis are
Why are
actually
they
more
looking for
friendly
democracy
with USA.
Yeah.
No,
Bangladesh had a very beautiful democratic government.
So who
Some
overturned
Indians
it?
are saying the Americans have tried to topple the Bangladeshi government. Is it true, Andolanji? What are your
But
analysis?
it is the
Is
people of Bangladesh.
America trying to
So
destabilize the democracy in Bangladesh also?
in India will also try to do certain things to certain countries. China will also try to do certain things to certain countries. US will also try to do certain things to certain countries. But is it the American population who is writing on Bangladesh history? The answer to that is no. It is Bangladeshis who are writing on Bangladesh history. Who is killing their citizens? It is Bangladeshis who are killing their citizens. It's not Americans who are killing.
Yeah, but 95% of the people died in the
So
Bangladesh riots are
you
the
can't
Muslims of
blame
Bangladesh.
you can't
95% of
you
the
can't.
people killed are
So
Bangladeshi
this is
Muslims.
again a Muslim problem, right? Shias are
Not
killing
a
Sunni in
Muslim problem.
Pakistan in the
It's a
last
human
2 months.
problem.
No, it's not a
It's
human
a human
problem.
problem,
It's not a
Andolanji.
human problem, Aditya. You have to understand that.
Hold on,
That
hold on.
that
We're going to have a session on Bangladesh soon. We're not talking about Bangladesh. Thank you very much. I think it's time to wrap up. I'm going to basically ask an ending question, and I would like first for Andolanji to respond. Then I'm going to go to Aditya. Then we're going to go to Maham. I'm going to have my final comment, and Maham is going to basically close.
I'm just
So,
making a cup of tea. You can go to Aditya and I'll come in 5 minutes
okay,
after.
okay, you can come after Aditya. So Aditya, as you saw from the video, you saw from the response, it was a very targeted rally. Coming back into context in regards to the UK, it was against basically a lot of Muslims. And do you think it was Islamophobic, or there were other political reasons attached to it? And furthering from that, the same question. I hope Andolanji is listening, because it's going to be the same question. And please add your final comments in regards to that as well. And do you think that majority of Brits are like that? And is your opinion of the far right changed, or is far right and far left now multi-ethnic in these countries? Would you say that, or it's a nuance that you can't really gauge the political spectrum of these people? Go ahead.
So the first thing you need to recognize is that the guy who made this video was clearly agenda driven. He wasn't a neutral person. He was clearly agenda driven. I can prove it to you. He interviewed 5 people, or probably like 5 to 6 people he had on his camera. Of those 5 or 6 people, 3 were like, he showed a black person, like probably he was out looking for a pizza. He saw excited people on the streets and he probably joined them. Then you saw a Sikh and a Hindu, like, most likely so-called brown people in the rally, supporting the, like, the anti-Muslim agenda and the same talking points. And these are very popular, this especially the Sikh guy, popular right-wing propaganda, like, person who's very popular in the right-wing circles in India, like, that. And what we call these people are tokenism. There's a word in English, it's called tokenism. These were the, like, we are not racist, we are not all white. See, we have one Hindu brown person. See, we have one Iranian brown person, we have one Sikh person. And forget about the 99% of the other people who are like white, ethno white Christian religious fanatics of the rally, right? And all of them have one thing in common: they hate the Muslims, they hate their religion. And just to make it look inclusive, they showed, like, three brown faces and hide their bigotry and racism behind those faces, which is all it was about. It was about Muslims, it was about Islam, it was about hating the Muslims, hiding behind the garb of, like, protecting our culture. What bullshit, I don't know what, sorry, what exactly were they trying to protect? Like, it's a, the city or the place they were, like, demonstrating is a multicultural place. And you had no Muslims, like, you clearly talking against that ideology or that religion. And if you think that, there's a cultural, some kind of religious problem with the religion, then you'll see 90% of the Muslims, like, attacking other like, people, which you don't see, like, and if you talk about problem with the religion, first of all, according to me, every religion have problems. And if somebody thinks that Islam and Muslims are not evolving and they are not what do you call it, they are not reforming, it is absolutely bullshit. I have met people, I've seen people, and there you'll meet even Muslims who will tell you that, Islam hasn't changed, Muslims hasn't changed, our religion is very strict. Believe you me, it's totally a joke. Almost all the Muslims that you come across are reformed Muslims. Maybe you can say that, they should reform quicker, there should be a better and faster change in the society. But it's a lie if somebody tells you that Muslims are not changing with the changing times. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you very much. Andolanji, Vivek Khatri. You have.
So, it's not about an individual's issue, right? I think there's no problem with Muslims per se across the globe everywhere. The problem is with Islam as an ideology. Whosoever adopts to Islam as an ideology, he starts showing sign of, issues of lack of coexistence, violence, so on and so forth. So yes, I agree with Aditya. 80-90% of the Muslims across the world perfectly, or rather, 99% of them would be, decent people. There's no problem with Muslims as individual. However, when they start coming closer to Islam, that is the time when problem starts. Exactly the same problem what we are seeing in UK, exactly the same problem what we are seeing in France. When they start identifying as a group, as a follower of Islam as an ideology, specifically Islam as a political ideology, nobody has a problem. If somebody is praying to anybody of his, choice across the globe. I think no decent democracy puts any restriction on, who do you want to pray to. Even countries like US and all, you'll find Saturn worshippers, and people don't have a problem with them as long as they keep it to themselves, right? So similarly, in modern democracies and civilized world, there is no issue with people following religion, but once they start following Islam as a political ideology, the problem starts and emerges from there. So take example of any country, be it Pakistan, be it Bangladesh, be it UK, be it France, or for that matter any other country in the world, where the closeness of groups to Islam begins, and that is where the problem of coexistence and friction starts. And that is where what I'm calling out. I'm not calling out Muslims, right? I'm sitting with two Muslims right now. I mean, I think Shaji and Maham both are practicing Muslims, right? No issues there. I mean, I've a lot of Muslim friends. No issues there. Most of them are well educated doctors, engineers, follow their life comfortably. But as and when they start coming closer, so there is a good friend of mine, I'll give you an example, right? So every time he'll come up and he'll quote me, this is something very good in Quran and this is very good in Quran. So I've been tracking him for a very long time, 2 years, 3 years. Finally one day I asked him, why do you keep on telling me this? Do I ever tell you what is good in Gita, what is good in Mahabharata, what is good in Ramayana? Why do you keep on telling me this? Because there's a lot of bad things also. I can also tell you. So he said, no, we want to, tell people that, Islam is X, Islam is Y. I said, now that you have crossed 40, 45 years of age, you're going closer to Islam. Let's keep our, friendship the way it is. Don't introduce me to Islam because I have a counter opinion also, which you would not like. It's better you keep your ideology to yourself. I keep my ideology to myself. As an individual, you are perfectly fine gentlemen. We have friendship going on for like 30 years plus. But this is a systemic problem that's not only with this one friend of mine. This is with every Muslim friend of mine. As and when they cross a particular threshold of age, then suddenly the fascination with Islam and that superiority complex start brewing in, and there are doses which invariably comes across, and people
I,
don't like it. I mean, I don't like being told what's good in Quran or what's good in Torah, right? I'm living a perfectly good life, right?
I understand what you're basically saying. So would you say that what basically happens, sorry, I'm asking, is basically driven by anti-immigration hatred, or do you think it's Islamophobia,
So
or
there's nothing like Islamophobia, Shaji. I think we have had a very long discussion of these topics. This that's called Islamophobia. When 91% of the terrorist attacks across the globe are committed by one set of people, or people coming from one set of ideology, that's not Islamophobia. That's called data. When there is an issue of coexistence, not in one country, two country, but across countries, that's not phobia. That's data. The
okay?
question
So
is again, the problem is not with people. Problem is with ideology. As long as you stay as a Muslim or any religion, perfectly all right. But once you start, imposing Islamic ideologies on systems like calling for Sharia, not following the country's law. Let's say there is a country who doesn't allow more than one marriage, and you find workarounds to do that, right? So on and so forth. Then that society particularly starts getting perturbed.
okay.
Imposition of halal food in schools, right?
Hmm.
X
which
Y
which
Z.
is which is fine. I understand what you're saying. We may have a difference of opinion, but we'll discuss that at another time. Do you have any final comments, or can we go for a close? Aditya or Andolan?
So my recommendation would be the so-called moderate Muslims probably need to speak more. But having said so, with the recent Palestine protest across the globe, I fail to differentiate between who is a moderate Muslim and who is a Islamist Muslim, or for want of any other word, I'm using this terminology because whether it is Hamas, whether it is if people are protesting for child and women being targeted in war. That's a genuine concern, but that concern should have been on when Saudi Arabia killed more than 150,000 civilians of Yemen. That was not there.
Okay.
Zero. Right?
Thank you very much for your opinions. Aditya, do you have any final thing to say, or should we go for a close?
Just like last quick point that I want to make it. So I agree with one point that Andolanji made about religion and their fanatics, and I think it's not just unique to Muslims and Islam. There are fanatics of there can possibly be fanatics in each group, and when you go to extreme points of it, for example, my own religion, Hinduism, in which I was born. So there, if you want to follow it to the T, then it will make sure that even looking at some people of a lower caste will make you impure, and you have to go shower yourself and to purify yourself. Then there are better people who you can see, but touching them is not allowed. Then there are people who you are allowed to touch. Then there are purer people that you are allowed to sit with and teach them. And then there are the purest people you are allowed to marry. So if you come to the bigoted and the extreme side of any religion, you'll find these fanatics who follow these ideas to the T, which ideas originated in probably 2-3 thousand years. They don't have any place in society of the 21st century. Thank you.
So just at the same time, I'll like to mention one comment. It was only the Hindu world across generations which didn't had a problem of slavery. The Islamic world, the Judea world, as well as the Christian world. Slavery was
That's
rampant.
another topic for another day, and Dolanji will.
I'm just trying to put forward a point what Aditya mentioned in an exaggerated manner. So it was only in Hinduism. The Hindu world was the only world where there was no slavery. So that's
Okay, no
the point to
worries.
be
Thank you
noted
very
down.
much. We're here that. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to make my final comments, and then Maham can go for a close. So, first of all, I would like to clarify one thing in regards to Harvey, the filmmaker. He actually went there and he was surprised himself in regards to how many people and what kind of people were there. He's a completely independent person, and on the 31st, we're going to have an opportunity to have him on our podcast. We're going to have him on our stream. So that's something to look forward to. We can ask him various kinds of questions, and hopefully, we're going to have good tuning in regards to that. Second point, which I want to emphasize on, and I can't emphasize much upon that, is that at the end of the day, where there was an Islamic rhetoric being played at, we have to understand that majority of people who came out on the roads were not exactly Islamophobic or racist, and you cannot basically blame that. There's a lot of things which are building up ever since the Brexit time. The country has been divided, and it showed that the silent majority, when they came against these protests, they completely outnumbered these people who happened to be on the streets, even though certain people were not allowed to enter those places. But overall, the authorities also took huge amounts of action, even though people are basically saying that social media is something which basically overtook those actual situations, and some of the punishments are very harsh. But I think whoever incited those things has to be held accountable. Like one of the women who basically made that statement that wherever you see these people in mosques when they're praying, go and bomb these people. I'm sure if a Muslim man or a Jewish man would have said that about any religious place, or even a Hindu man or a woman would have said that, they would have gotten the same amount of punishment, and it would have been taken seriously. So the threats which are made like this are not something to be taken lightly. In handing out of these punishments, there's been a fair number of Muslims, Christians, Jews, atheists, liberals, left wingers, right wingers, who've been involved in these arguments, who've been involved in these social media areas, who've been handed these punishments. And obviously, when those people who are basically suggesting that the mayor of London and the prime minister of the UK have gone an extra mile by providing security to mosques. Obviously, you're going to provide security to a place which is going, or a community who is being mentioned. And you have to understand that the Muslim community within the UK is not simply people full of immigrants. There are children of immigrants, there are British people, there are even white people who happen to belong to this community, and it is just as British, or I should say, we are just as British as everyone else, and a lot of our people are integrated. With that, if I'll go to Maham, please sum up, and then we can go for a close. Go ahead, Maham. Maham.
Sorry, my internet was acting bad again. So all I'm going to say is, like I said the last time, if you don't want illegal immigrants, stop bombing their countries. Use that money to help your own people. Stop bombing them, and they won't come to you. You can't expect to turn their homes into rubble and for them to just stay there and not come to you. I mean, please. Secondly, for people like Tommy Robinson and Nigel Farage, I don't think I blame the masses for whatever they did. Most of them were misinformed by the same people. Like Tommy Robinson still is stuck on his claim that the guy who killed those girls in Southport is not a Christian. He's a Muslim. The authorities are lying. The Guardian is lying. All these newspapers are lying. I'm telling the truth. And he fled from the UK because he's supposed to be arrested in a terrorism allegation. How the tables have turned, right? So I think people like Nigel Farage and Tommy Robinson and Andrew Tate spreading misinformation using social media to do that, gain from it by destroying lives of these young British people who are as young as 13 years old. I think people like them should be actually apprehended for all this misinformation that they spread. That's all I'm going to say about this. And thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel. Keep listening, and we'll be back with another show, inshallah. Have a good day, good evening, or good morning. See you next time.